Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Local Growth Academy podcast. I've got Joseph Carfagno here with me. He runs a really awesome company, Carfagno Professional Painting, out of Ocean County, New Jersey. Joe, we met last year, 2024, at PaintCon out in California. And man, I got to know you and your wife a little bit and learn about what you were doing. And since then, like I've just witnessed a lot of the growth and the stuff that you guys have been doing. And I just wanted to thank you for your time for joining us and just kind of wanted to kind of dive in. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, dude, give me just like the 30-second backstory on where you were last year and where you are this year, and we'll kind of dive in from there.
Okay. So, a little smaller last year. Last year was the first year that we actually broke $1 million.
Okay.
Just hired on last year. I met Joel Marcato.
Yeah.
Hired him as my coach, and he really kind of taught me the systems and processes that I needed to implement in the business. And the different things like having a project manager, having an admin in the office and stuff. And I was doing everything by myself. I was kind of like the one-man show. And there's only so far you can really take it doing it yourself. So after adding a project manager and an admin, I really started seeing the growth. We went from before I started talking with Joel, we were about maybe 500 a year. We were doing okay, and then once I started implementing all the things that Joel and I were discussing and talking about, we started growing exponentially, and I think this year, we're projected to do close to 2.
That's amazing. So, yeah. I mean, a couple of years, basically you're almost like 2xing every year then. Is that about right?
We're trying. Yeah.
Yeah. 2xing every year. Yeah. That's pretty awesome, dude. That's really, really great growth. I love the big goals too. A lot of times I'll chat with people and they're like, I want to increase like 5-10% year over year. I'm like, bro, man. I mean, maybe if you're making like 100 million a year, maybe that's I don't know, but like at mid to low numbers, I love big goals, man. Love them.
Yeah, I don't like you. I don't like setting goals to increase 10%, 20%. I'm like at minimum 50% or double, you know. And it's either for me, it's either go big or go home.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, dude,
everything I do is kind of like that. Like with my health and fitness, with my personal life, with my marriage, we kind of stay on point and kind of try to do everything that we can to be successful,
Well, diving into marriage, man. I had the pleasure of meeting your wife because she was there too. How long have you guys been married?
My wife and I only been married a short time. We've been married 4 years.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So I met my wife when I came down to Ocean County.
Okay.
And we kind of met like on a dating site, which was kind of odd, and we hit it off right away. And, my wife comes from an Italian culture.
Okay.
And so, I was raised Italian. So, we kind of hit it off in that aspect. She's just a terrific woman, and we dated for a year and then we got married.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. And I tell you, she's been nothing but a blessing in my life. I mean, I believe that God put her in my life for a reason. And her and I, she comes with me on all the events that I go to, like PCA. We do the Andy Elliott events together.
Mm-hmm.
The contracting association, we were there. I believe we saw you there as well.
Yeah, we saw you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, we love it. We love doing these things. Just at the end of this month, we're doing another course. We're taking a crash course in real estate investing.
Oh, so awesome.
We're doing that together. We're doing that, it's like a weekend thing.
Awesome.
So we try to, we do like, five events a year that have to do with, our business and learning and developing together.
Yeah, I love it. And I love being able to like bring your significant other. I know when we met at PaintCon last fall, I know you met my wife and my daughter there too. So great. I not only try to bring my wife to everything, I also try to bring my kids too. My oldest kid has moved out of the house now, but my youngest is still here. So she comes along with. Dude, I'm all about like that work-life culture. If I can, first of all, when I go out on a work trip, I always try to like pad it a little bit, like have a couple of days of fun, like before, after, or both.
Of
You know,
course. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, why not? Like, I mean, you're already like you've already taken the plane there. You've already paid for the tickets. Like the really expensive stuff is out of the water. Like staying an extra few days for the hotel cost, like this is like nominal. So I'm always about like trying to, put work in, put fun in with work trips because I don't know, man. Like I grind a lot like you, man. I'm working hard all the time. And it's sometimes the lines between work and fun blur. So like I don't mind working when I'm on the road, but I have moments. I believe like we should be focused in where we are. So like if I'm in work, I'm in a conference, I'm speaking or I'm learning, I'm gonna be 100% into that thing. And the moment we turn social, it's okay. Turn the work stuff off and like you and I can have a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most
I,
definitely.
I find it like just being present is more important than like not doing work and personal stuff together. Like I have my family doesn't have a problem with it. We do it all the time. As long as we have personal time, having a personal and work blended trip is like a non-issue.
No, I agree. And like my wife and I, we have a set time. It's not a whole lot of time, but every night for a half hour, the phone gets put away and we
Mm-hmm.
talk. We
That's
talk about
awesome.
our day. We talk about what's on her mind, and also once a week we have a date night where, we'll go out to dinner, you
That's
know,
awesome.
and they're important, because,
Super important.
having a business, like I'm doing stuff 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Like there's something, even like on a Sunday, like this past Sunday, I had to put maybe an hour or two in, like at different parts of the day. I get calls, I get texts, I have to rearrange the schedule, something happens, and
Hmm.
she's very understanding. But like
Yeah.
as you were saying, it's just being when I'm with her, I'm present with her, So
Yeah.
I think that's the big divider there. Just
I hate having the like chats with people where you're like they're like talking and looking and talking and looking like this all the time. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
I want to be like, let's just chat. I mean, even something as simple as like not bringing a phone to a dinner table can like mean the world as far as like the way someone will feel is like you're bringing your attention. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, yeah, for date nights, it's like we're just doing date nights. Phones stay off, and we're the same, man. I think that, lots of people have demonstrated at a certain scale, you can completely unplug for a while. But dude, even Andy Elliott, like he's $100 million company and he's still plugged in doing stuff every day. Like it's just, I think it's like if you build a business to a point where you've got enough team in there and you're not trying to scale anymore, you could probably step back. You know, like if I'm still scaling, then I'm probably still going to be involved.
yes, yeah. The way I look at it, I I don't think I've actually scaled back from my business at all because we're still growing. Like
Oh, I
some,
haven't either. I'm just talking hypothetically.
yeah, I don't do a lot of the things that I used to do, but now I do things that are more important,
Yeah.
to keep the guys going, and it was a transition because I was always the kind of guy that, if I wasn't working physically 8-10 hours a day, then I really wasn't getting anything done. And now they transition that over to, managing the guys, managing the business, working on the business instead of working in the business was a
Yeah.
huge transition because there was nights that I felt like I really didn't do anything, at the end of the day. I'm like, wow, I really didn't do a lot of physical work. But now the more that I put in, at the end of the day, I'm mentally exhausted. I'm shot.
Yeah, I agree. I want to dive down that path a little bit too. Like, what do you think was like, well, one, what was a big catalyst to get you like out of doing working in the business and working on the business? Was it working with Joel and that stuff, or was it something before or after?
No, it was working with Joel and just getting involved in people that um, like Joel, like
Hmm.
Aiden, being around Andy Elliott,
Yep.
just people that I try to surround myself with people that are much better than me, that have more, that scaled more,
Yep.
and then I just was learning because I came from when I started painting, I worked for a few different painters, and they were totally different companies. Like, the one guy I worked with, he worked every day in the business, and I was like, how are you getting jobs? Well, I go on estimates after work, and
Mm.
then,
So
I
then
worked
you're
with,
never off.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I worked with the gentleman. His name was John Mitchell. He has since passed, but he had a really good business, and I kind of learned from him a little bit. And then when I started my own business, my first company, I was in Cape May County, um, and I kind of was. I really wasn't a good leader or a good boss back then because I kind of was a little bit hard. I was more of a I, I wasn't a coach. I was a boss, you know.
Yeah.
And after the housing boom went, like 2008, 2009, that kind of shut it down. Um, and then I moved up to Hunterdon County because I got divorced at that time. So I moved up to Hunterdon County. I was there for about 6 months, and I started a business up there, and it was going really well, But I still wasn't doing the practices like that I do now, Like I was running the company, I was working, I had guys working for me, but I really wasn't focusing on working on the business. I was mostly in the business. And
Yeah.
then, my daughter was in Cape May County, so she was 3 hours away from where I was living. And, that was starting to take a toll on me, traveling back 3 hours each weekend, going back and forth, back and forth. So I started advertising in Ocean County, and my calendar filled up for 2 months. And I moved down here, and that's when things really started taking off for me.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, do you think was it location or was it more like what you started doing that
It
made
was
you?
the location really doesn't matter, I believe. I mean, it's just how you run the business, how you treat your men, the systems and processes that you put in. And, I think it all starts from your mindset. Really, if you don't have a mindset for running a business and running the men and doing what it takes to be successful, then you're never going to be successful.
Yeah, I'd agree. Um, what for me at least, like I found that the more I pour into most like lots of knowledge and all sorts of areas, but like really for me, it's like the number one thing has been like studying leadership, and I don't think people necessarily become leaders. I think people are students of leadership. I think it's not like a trophy you win. I think it's like always something you're growing and learning, right? And for me though, like I see the biggest rewards like per minute that I pour into that area, I see the absolute biggest outcome. Like more than like marketing skills or sales skills or SOP writing skills or any of those other things. Like for me, it's been like hands down. The more I and that's one of the reasons I also went did some courses and programs and stuff with Andy Elliott because he's huge in like leadership and how to build and how to grow a team and how to really become a better leader. You mentioned a minute ago that you the old you was like a boss and you feel like the new you is like a true leader. Do you want to like expand on like what that was before and like how you kind of broke into that second phase?
So when I first started painting, we were really focused on production and hard work. Like
Yeah.
how much work do you get done in a day? That's how you were judged at the end of the day. It's like how
Yep.
much work and how good you did. So we were always like on the hustle highway, just working hard. And I think that when I started my first business, that's how that's what I expected from my guys, you
Yeah.
know. And if they weren't doing that, instead of kind of gently talking to them and kind of seeing where they were going wrong, I was more of like, well, if you're not going to fit in this company, if you can't do that, then you got to go, you know, kind of
Yeah.
like that. So I wasn't a good boss at all. I was, you know, uh, I was horrible.
I've been there too, my friend. I've been there too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, these last 5 years, from really digging in and especially since talking with Joel and being in these groups, have really helped me understand, that first of all, it's being a leader is not being a yeller or somebody that, it's helping somebody, using their strengths, where they're strong at. And if they're not strong in a certain area, then I don't really put them there,
Hmm.
because everybody has their own strength and weaknesses,
Yep.
and I have guys now that, some guys are really technical, they're good doing technical things. Some guys are just really good producers, and like my production manager now, Justin, who just has the skill of all of them, so that's why he's the leader, you
Yeah.
know. But like I had my guy, like my guys, like they come over the house once a month. We have a barbecue. We talk to them. My wife is really familiar with all of them and their families, so we make sure we get together. We talk. We try to kind of make it, as close to a family atmosphere as we can. They're a bunch of painters. We're all painters, so a lot of people when they think about painters, like, oh, they're just a bunch of drunks or they're out there doing this and that, and so I try to get my guys to, you know, be a part of a family.
Yeah. I love that, dude. Um, I think at the end of the day, I think people like want to be a part of something, you know?
Definitely.
Um, one of the things that I constantly hear, and I'm sure you've heard it, we're in a lot of the same circles, but from a lot of the guys that haven't quite figured that out. And not to say that you and I are the best leaders, but we're at least on that journey, right?
Mhm.
For the people I think that are still stuck in boss mode, like the old Nintendo boss that you got to beat. I think when you're in that kind of boss mode, I think one of the biggest things that I know that I overlooked when I knew I was that kind of boss, and I didn't know it at the time. I thought I was a good boss at the time, um, and I'll probably look back at today at some point in the future and think I was a good boss today, and I'll be better then. But like when I know for a fact, like I was at my worst as far as leadership, I did the same thing. It was transactional leadership, performance leadership, my way or the highway kind of thing. And,
Mhm.
um, you know, what ends up happening, I think, is like we, not necessarily intentionally, but we created almost like fear type workplace, right? Like
Yes.
if someone brings us an idea or a better way and we're like, no, it's my way, the highway, like eventually they'll just stop bringing you ideas,
Yes.
right? And then what happens is now you get frustrated because you have to make every decision in your business, but you wouldn't have if you would allow people to make decisions and fail and then learn from it. So because
Exactly.
if you know what I mean? Like I found that it's the grace that we allow the team members to have to be able to here, go do this thing. This is my vision for how this should look. Go do it. And here's my current SOP, but take it, run with it, make it, do it a different way, do it a better way, find the best way to do this, and it's on you. And you give them that freedom, and at first, it will be less than what you're doing right now. You know what I mean? Like almost everything is good. Like when you do a new thing, you bring in a new team, you got a new leader, you got a new process. Like that performance almost always dips, and then you give them that grace of they're in learning mode, and then they get better. Like the first time you painted a house probably sucked. I know the first time I painted sucked. First
Yeah.
time I ran a marketing campaign sucked. Like we're all going to suck before we get good. And I think that for me, when I was in boss mode, I didn't give people the same freedom to mess up that I had once been afforded prior to that moment, you know?
No, I
And,
agree.
and I think that fundamentally that's the biggest thing that I have changed is being able to allow them create a vision for what I want in the company and their role, and then give them what guidance and training where needed, but allow them to figure some stuff out on their own. And the more stuff they can figure out on their own, the better.
No, I definitely agree with that philosophy. Like I tell Justin and a lot of my supervisors that, if we fail forward,
Yeah,
and we learn because there's, we all make mistakes. We're all human, and if we make an error on the job or something didn't get done right, well, we learned our lesson, we fix it, and we do the best we can to move on,
yeah,
And one of the greatest things that, like what you were just talking about, was trying to give somebody the creative vision. Like when I hired my admin 6 months ago, right? I, I, I don't really like doing admin stuff.
I don't either.
I'm horrible. I'm horrible at it,
Yeah,
So when this guy Sean came in, started doing things, I set him up with drip jobs with all the accounts, and I'm like, look, you're going to have to go on the drip jobs tutorials and learn how to use it, And he did, and we kind of worked from there. I'm like, listen, you worked in offices before, just make this a functioning office. I said, and your main job right now is to get my estimates on my schedule so that
hmm
I can go do the estimates, and he jumped right out of the gate, and he's been doing great. And I
Amazing.
give him the freedom to do what he needs to do to get that office together. And I go there. He's only working part time right now. He works 3 days a week, and my stepson is in there with him now because he's kind of like on break from college, and he's great with financial. So he's making me all the charts, the job costing, the production charts, and he's getting all that systemized for me. So he started helping us out with a lot of the financial stuff. You know, the job costing, the production sheets, the profit
Okay.
sheets, and he's getting that all systemized. So now, Sean is only going to have to input numbers now at the end of the day, at the end of the week. So just giving him that freedom, like you were saying, to do what he needs to do and be creative. I mean, it's done wonders. And just delegating the things that I don't like and I'm not good at, because I'm not good at everything. I'm not like the paperwork and getting everything organized. It's not like really like my highest priority, and it
Yeah,
should be. But so he's been doing that the last 6 months, and it's really been a game changer.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm a huge proponent in like um everyone doing what they should be doing, and I think Brandon Vaughn, who I know he was at Paint
yeah,
Conference here too. Like he talks about this a lot in like hiring. I've heard multiple videos of him talking about this, and I couldn't agree more. Like I think it starts with self reflection and understanding who you are and what your skills and what you're not, and then you should hire the opposite of that. Like too many times people hire the same type of person that they are, and that's not the right thing. Like if you want to be a tradesman and that's really what you want to do, you want to just like be in the brush all day and that's cool. Hire someone to do sales, hire someone to do admin, you know?
exactly.
If you want to be a true CEO, you're gonna have to hire a lot of people. So it kind of just depends on the vision, but I think we should hire opposite of us more often than the same as us.
No, I agree. I agree totally. Yeah, 100%. I think that you know each one of my guys have different skill sets, and they're totally opposite of me. Like I'm good with the trades. I've been painting for a lot of years, so I can spray, I can paint, I can do things. But now I'm getting a little older, so I may not be as fast and as quick as some of the guys that are in their 30s. But
Hmm.
Justin, he came on board with me 5 years ago and had no idea about a spray gun. Uh, he watched videos. I taught him, and now when I see him spraying and painting, he's better than some of the guys I've seen them painting 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
He's really good. He picked it up quick. He's efficient, and that's because too is I gave him that room and that freedom to operate. And to
Yeah.
do
That
it.
runway.
Yeah, and it's been working out really well.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Um, well, what do you think is next on the horizon? So you think you're going to hit about 2 million for this year? Like, where are you trying to go? Like, how big are you trying to be?
I you know I just want to keep scaling. Like I don't want to put a number on
Okay,
where I want to stop, because then if I hit that number, I don't know where it's going to go.
that's fair.
Each year I just want to keep growing, and as we said earlier, I just don't want to grow a little bit. Like I want to each year I want to grow a good amount, so I'm putting in
Hmm.
more of an effort, but as we get bigger, it's not necessarily that we have to work harder. We just have to work smarter. You know, put the right people in place, have the right systems, the right processes. And basically it runs itself. Like at some point, like I would like my job just to be coaching my guys, going around visiting job sites. Like Justin and I, we have our daily talks in the morning. We have our weekly meetings. My team has a meeting once a week, and it's just about seeing what their vision is too for the company, you
Yeah.
know, and I always ask them, what can I be doing better to help you, just to get their input, their vision, because what I see that I could be doing better might not necessarily be what they see I could be doing better. We can have two opposite thought patterns there,
I
so
think I think that's a really a really strong mark of good leadership too. Is seeking the people around you's opinion. It's not necessarily true that you'll listen or listen. It's not necessarily true that you'll change everything that they say needs to be changed, but we should at least listen and hear and process and see if some of it's true, and if so, prioritize what those things could be, So I'm constantly asking like my people that I trust, my family, my team, my clients, like what are we doing great? What am I doing great? What am I not doing great? Where can I improve? And especially if I just hear one thing from one party, might not be that big of a deal. But if I hear like repeating themes across a few people, there's probably a lot of truth to it. And it
Cool.
might be something worth looking at into, you
Yeah.
know? And I found that's a great loop because like I think that I think there's a really delicate balance between like confidence and overconfidence or ego. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
should all be great at what we do, but not to the point where we take for granted those around us, which I think is a big mark of ego. Like I'm great, look at me, and you start dismissing everything around you. And I think that's not a good thing. That's not healthy. I don't think
Oh no,
that's
absolutely.
not a leadership quality that I want to have. But at moments, like you'll see that like balance between the two. Like I don't think that I've ever been like 100% ego. I don't think I've ever been 100% on the other side either. But sometimes it sways just a tiny bit, and sometimes that feedback I'd be like, oh, there's a little gut check. Maybe I need to be better there. I thought I was better than this than I actually am. Let's go back in and let's open up and let's be open to change and open to learning and open to feedback. You know.
I find too that when I ask guys the questions about where they think I can improve at, right? Like in my mind, I had because we know where we should be improving at. We know where we're falling short, like deep
Most of the
down
time.
inside. Yeah, and I find that most of the time I ask them that they come up with something completely like that I wasn't even thinking of.
Hmm.
Something like wow, and it gives me like a new perspective. Like wow, maybe I could shift my behaviors or my mindset to a different area, And I, I think leadership just falls down to how you treat your men, and how you guide them, how you coach them. You know, I I think that's a really like one of the main parts of being a good leader. Is just how you treat your men. You know, that's,
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's one of the things we talk about a lot. I think that to expand on that, I think that how we treat everyone, not just our men, is actually for me at least, it's a really big mark of things. Like, um, what happens like if you mess up on like a paint job, and I know that we've all seen this where like something gets messed up, it happens, right? And on one end, you got the customer that's like, "Hey, you really messed up. Like this is it. I need you to fix it. What's your plan to get this made right?"
hmm
That's one way they handle it. And the other way is like, "Oh my God, screaming, f you, like, you know what I mean? Like
yes,
you
yeah,
can have the same exact mess up, and two different people will handle it completely different.
yeah,
And I know we can't control people, right? But and in business, sometimes there's red flags you can maybe catch early, and maybe we don't we don't bring that client on because we
hmm
know that this is probably a toxic personality that we don't want to deal with. And I think that all businesses, whether it's a contractor or an agency or like, I don't really care. Heck, even restaurants will throw somebody out if there's somebody that's being like, you know what I mean? Like, I think
hmm
every business should have that line, that professional standards line. But sometimes you don't see it coming, and sometimes it kind of comes out of the blue. And I think that I'm probably quickest to judge people, and this, maybe my own shortcoming, but I judge people pretty quickly on how poorly they treat other people when things aren't going their way.
oh
You,
yes,
you know what I mean?
hmm
Like nothing's ever perfect. There's always mistakes, and to have the ego to think that like I'm perfect and this other person's making me say, no, dude, I mess up every day. So I
yeah,
just feel like we should give each other, everyone, a little more grace and a little more kindness, I definitely think it's huge, like you said, like the way we treat our team. But I also think, and you and I aren't like you're not with me as an agency, but if we did have a client and agency relationship, I would want you to treat me with that respect, and I would want to treat you with that respect. You know what I mean? I think like
Definitely. Yeah.
every relationship should have that respect, and you can see a lot of someone's internal values by how they treat everyone else.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. And I believe too, and I've heard Andy talking about this many times too, is, it all starts at home and how we treat our wives, how we treat our kids.
I
And
would
if
agree.
we're not treating our wives and our kids right, then, how are we going to how are we going to treat everybody else? So I think it all starts at home first, and like my wife and I, we have a great relationship. Uh, once or twice a month, we'll sit down and we'll have a meeting. Of what's bothering her. You know, uh, where are we going in our marriage? What could we do to fix things, or if something is bothering her, what can I do to help her? And
Yeah.
I think they're important things. And it's just being having that humility. Am I like that all the time? I'm not. I'm not perfect, but I really try to prioritize, my family first. We're
Yeah.
spiritual. My wife and I, we go to church every week. I believe God, is giving me everything. And that's a big part of our lives. We put God first, my marriage second, and then, my health, and then the business. You
Yeah.
know,
That's a
and
good order, brother.
Well, the
That's a good
reason why
order.
I put the business last is because if I don't place God first in my life, then I think everything else is going to fall apart. And the second thing that keeps me going is my wife. Like my wife's my partner in life.
Mhm.
So if we're not close, if we don't have that connectiveness, then I think everything else is going to kind of start to wither away. You know, and then thirdly is the health and fitness. Like and we know Andy's a really big proponent of that.
Mhm.
And I just look at people, and if they're not taking care of themselves, then I look like, well, how are you taking care of the rest of your life if you're not
Mhm.
worried about your health? You know.
Yeah.
So I prioritize that first thing every morning. We wake up early. My wife and I will pray together. I'll head down. I have a little gym in my basement. I have a cold plunge, and I'll go down and for me it's 35, 40 minutes tops.
Mhm.
I don't spend a whole lot of time, but I just get myself in a good mindset, and that's how I start my day every day, you know?
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more, man. Self care is important, man. I
Yeah,
think it's almost like in the emergency procedures in an airplane, they tell you like in the event of emergency, the mask come down, put it on yourself before helping anyone else. I
exactly.
think we self leadership is was it the 7 steps of leadership, right? Self leadership is first. Like you got to be able to take care of yourself first before you can have influence over other people. I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And like me and my production manager, Justin, right now we're reading a book together, John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership,
Great book.
and, we do a chapter a week, we'll go over it, we'll talk about it. And I think those kind of things really kind of bring people closer together, because he sees that I'm trying to help him be a better leader, and my by helping him, it's helping me,
Of course.
you
Yeah.
know. So it's and like you were saying before, it's just John Maxwell says readers are leaders, and I'm if I don't really have time to read a book, I do a lot of driving during the day, so I put an audio book on and I listen to it,
Yeah.
so always trying to get something in my head daily. You're part of the business syndicate with Andy Elliott, so like all the modules he has. So I try to
Tons
spend
of them.
at the minimum 20 minutes a day. If I can spend a little more, then I do it. But it's just, I think that's consistency compounds, over time. So if we do it every day, then we're going to grow. I don't, I don't think you can help it.
I think one of my good buddies lives down in Tampa. A guy named Anthony Rich, close friend of mine, really great closer. Um, he preaches all the time consistency over intensity, and I love it. Super simple. Like anything, you can apply that to a bunch of things. Like we have one great, like with the husband wife thing. Like if I have one great date night with my wife, and then don't take her out on another date or spend time in a relationship for the next 6 months, you'll be the best date in the freaking world. Could have taken her to France and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter if it's not consistent. Same thing, like if, what happens if you go to the gym today and work out for like 8 hours straight? Best workout of your life. What do you look like tomorrow? You look no different than you did today,
Exactly.
But a
Yeah.
30-minute workout like you're doing every day, fast forward 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, you're a completely different person, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So 100%, man, consistency is the key. I vary my learning. Like I do, like I'm part of some courses, like some of the Andy Elliott stuff and things. I go in there and learn some of that stuff. I also follow a lot of people on YouTube. So I'll catch up with their stuff. I do podcasts, I do books, I do courses, I do webinars. So for me, it's like a mix of a bunch of different kinds, but I'm with you. I'm probably average 30 to 60 minutes a day and learning something.
Yeah. I believe that's important. I mean,
Yep.
you figure like my work day, I try to keep it 8, 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I sleep about 6, 7 hours. That's all I can sleep anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot. We have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like those extra times. And like just devoting a half hour, 40 minutes to yourself and your functional fitness, and an hour to your learning. It's not really a whole lot of time. You still have a whole lot of other time in a day to
Mm-hmm.
use. So it's just prioritizing, and that's another thing that I really learned from Joel was like time management. Like now I block my calendar. My calendar's all
Ooh,
blocked.
I love blocking.
Yeah, because there's a lot of days that I don't feel like doing things. But when I see it blocked out on my calendar, I just do
Yeah,
it.
100%. I
Yeah.
mean, even this podcast as we're recording right now, we scheduled this on both of our calendars. It was
Yes.
time blocked for both of us. And so it's like, hey, I got this thing, I had to go show up. And yeah, I'm a huge proponent in time block. What are a couple of things that you do with your time blocking?
Well, what do you mean?
Like a couple tips, like how do you handle it? Because there's time blocking is a really big concept, and there's a few different ways of handling it. I was just kind of curious, like, what do you do?
Well, so I kind of like I write down on paper like all the things I want to do during the day. So like
Okay.
my mornings, I have a morning routine.
Okay.
From like 4:30 to 6.
Okay.
That I kind of block that out as morning routine. And from like 6 to 6:30 is just kind of getting showered and ready for the day, and then from 6:30 to 4 is my work day. But now I time block my work day because from like 7 to 8:30, I block that out with meetings with my guys, talking to my
Hmm.
men, going to the office, making sure things are going smooth. I'll visit some customers, I'll visit some job sites, and then usually between 10 and 2 is reserved for my estimates, you
Okay.
know. So I'll go on estimates if I have some time. There's other things that always pop up that I handle, but that's the time schedule for my estimates. And like, from 2 to 4, I'll write the estimates out. I'll go back to the office. I'll talk with Sean and see if he had any problems. And then, usually between 4 and 5, I come home. And then between 6 and 7:30, I have my evening routine, you know, where I do my learning, my podcast. I spend time with my wife, and then after 7:30, it's pretty much a shutdown for me. I'm in no talk mode after that.
Yeah, I love it, man. I do kind of similar. Um, I have my morning routine, and then I call it my deep work block. So between 8 and 12, every day I have a block Monday to Friday every day where I focus on really big picture items, not minute tasks, big picture things, like things that are going to move me my quarter goals down the road.
Yeah.
There's a book, I'm not sure if you've read it, called Traction. Have you ever read that?
Let me write that down. Yeah.
It's a really, really, really great one. I'm forgetting the name of the author. It's a kind of an interesting name that I don't want to butcher on a recording.
Okay.
But it's a pretty famous book as far as it's got like a business operating system, and lots of businesses have used it. It's called the EOS model. And in there, he talks about creating like a 10-year vision, then like a 3-year vision, then a 1-year goal, and then breaking it down to quarters, like to get to that. So it's like start with the end in mind kind of concept, right? Which is not novel. It's just specifically, it's the tactician stuff of like how to do it that makes that book unique. But like thinking big picture years down the road is not novel. They definitely didn't invent that. But they preach of making a 10-year vision, 3-year, 1 year, and then once you have the 1 year, breaking it down to quarters and say, if this is where I want to be 1 year from now, this quarter needs to look like this. This quarter needs to look like this. This quarter needs to look like this. And then in a meeting, you figure out what roadblocks or issues need to be solved for that quarter to have that outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Could be hiring a new person, increasing your ad spend 10%. It could be improving leadership, doing a course, putting an SOP in place, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a lot of things. But we figure out if we want to go from here to here, what are, and the book defines it as what's called quarter rocks. Like, and the idea is presented as like if you're walking down a path and there's a giant boulder in the way, what do you have to do to move or get around that boulder to get back on your path? Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So if I've got a point A and point B, what are the rocks preventing me from already being at point B?
Gotcha.
And so what I do in my morning routine, I'm solely focused on that. That's all I do.
Yeah.
And normally that involves some sort of team training, SOP development, content, marketing, leadership, normally.
Yeah.
But it will change. Like this week, I'm really heavy into SOPs. That's like my main outcome this week is like focus on SOPs. So I do those deep work blocks from 8 to 12. And then from like 12 to 5 is like all my team and client meetings. Like no one is allowed to book with me before noon. So it's like, and the reason that I do that is like, those are like the highest thought input things that I have in my day. And
Yeah.
so those are why those are like the first thing after the morning routine. Those are the first big things that I do.
Yeah.
And then after that, lunch break. And then from there, it's just internal meetings and client meetings and performance meetings and team meetings and training meetings and whatnot.
Yes. Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. Um, I think it's still is like what you said is getting those the big picture stuff done first thing in the morning.
Yep.
You know, because I think that's when my brain operates the best. I'm not good after 5 o'clock. A lot of people like to do their learning and stuff. After 5, 6 o'clock, I'm not really good at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
better.
and I think that what a lot of times will happen, and we're all guilty of it. We'll all have a moment where we're like, "Hey, I've got these 5 things I need to do today," and you get to 1 and 2 and then 3, and then you like wear out, and then you like push 4 and 5 to the next day, right?
Yeah.
But what if that fourth or fifth thing that you're pushing gets pushed to the end of the next day, and then you get to the bottom of it and you push it again, and it pushes again? We call this procrastination, right? But that's
Yes.
typically what happens. If that procrastination item is a really important thing that moves the needle in your business, you're never going to get it done, right? And we all have mental capacities. So there's a finite amount of decisions and thought process we can put in a day before we're just mentally gone. It's different for everybody. It depends on the circumstance. Like I have a longer threshold of doing solo work than I do having group work. Not because I don't like people or don't want to talk with people, but I have like an emotional threshold where there's like, I'm at my limit of talking to groups of people, and I
Yeah.
will hit that faster than solo work. You can put me in a room for 8 hours and I'll be fine. You put me in a group chat scenario for 8 hours, I'm going to be checked out probably about hour 5 or 6. And that's just me. This is the way my brain works, right? So I have to understand that and know that, and I have to proactively plan my day. You know,
Hmm.
um, I don't do like this podcast. I don't do 6 of those in one day. There's no way I'd make it through. There's just no way. I would be so annoying by the end of the last one.
Yeah.
So I just control that. It's also why I have like a set amount of meetings that I'll take during the day, so I can have my deep work block, which is almost all solo. And then even though it's after lunch and it's a later part of the day, I haven't done 5 hours of group chats. So I'm still refreshed for that part of my brain to do that in the afternoon.
That's great.
And that's not like a magic formula. That's not the same way everyone should do it. For me, it was just trial and error. I time blocked different ways for years. And I found that this way works best for me. You know,
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I love it. You know? Yeah.
but it's kind of just getting back to that thing with like leadership too. It's just like really deeply looking at yourself and your own patterns and behaviors. I think it's super, super, super important. Like I know my strengths and weaknesses. I know what frustrates me. And if I know what frustrates me, I know what move. If I know things that are like, I don't know, I kind of break them into two categories. These events increase my energy, and these events decrease my energy, right?
Yes.
And if you know what those things are, you can. There's some things you got, like you said, you hate admin. Sometimes there's an admin task on your tech that you can't pass off. Like there's always a couple things you have to do. And I hate admin too. Drains the crap out of me. I can't stand it. So like I'm not going to create a day where I have 10 admin things to do because I'm going to be in a really bad mood. I'm not going to like it, and I'm probably going to push half of it off. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No, I agree. Yeah.
So it's just like, but like there are people that are good at admin, and they'll happily stack 10, 12 items of admin things in a day, and they're perfectly fine, but they don't want to get on meetings. Like my wife's the polar opposite. I have a lot of meetings. My wife, after like 2 meetings a day, she's checked out. I have an average of 10, you know? So
Yeah.
like I have a lot of meetings in those last few hours of the day. And after 1 or 2 meetings, my wife is checked out because that's just a different, like, she's different, you know?
No, most
So,
definitely.
but
Yeah.
again, it's just self-discovery.
It is. Yeah. And I think a lot of that too, for me, is just the discipline and being consistent in everything I do. Like there's things that I don't like to do, and there's some things that I like to do, but I'll wake up and I just don't feel like doing it,
Yeah.
But I kind of look at what's going to happen when I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
like my morning routine. Sometimes I just don't feel like doing it, but
Of
I know
course.
that after that routine is done, I'm going to feel much better. So I just kind of focus on the end result and just go through the motions.
100%.
So
Yeah, I think the discipline is really, really, really important. I think though that there are definitely like people that are really low on discipline and people that are really high on discipline, but largely so. I mean, it's even been scientifically proven. Just people are just not as disciplined as we'd like to think we are. You know.
oh yeah,
So one of my favorite books is that never not never split the difference. Atomic Habits.
oh
Atomic Habits
James
by
Clear,
James Clear.
yeah, love it, yeah,
Yeah, and so he talks about in that book a lot of like let's just say you're trying to lose weight and you have a bad habit of eating potato chips. Well, if there's a bag of potato chips out on the counter and a bag of potato chips in your pantry, you're probably going to eat potato chips at some point. You
exactly.
probably have the willpower for a while to not do it. And at one point, you're just going to break, right? Because our discipline only takes us so far. But the better way, which he proposes, and mostly what this book is about, is controlling your environment so that you can more easily make decisions. So instead of focusing on having enough discipline to not eat potato chips, just don't buy potato chips and have them in your home. Now, all of a
Exactly.
sudden, the day to day temptation of eating potato chips is not there. You can't eat them, they're not in your house.
Exactly.
Yes, you could still drive to the store and buy some, but that's more work. And most of the time during that process, because we just made that thing harder, we'll give up and we'll be like, no, 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 I shouldn't eat potato chips because I made it
Exactly.
real hard.
Right.
The whole notion of that book is making the habits that we want to have, making them as easy as possible, and the habits that we don't want to have, making them as hard as possible. And not to say that discipline doesn't matter at all, but if we do that in conjunction with some personal discipline, we typically are going to have better outcomes.
Exactly. And I also liked when he talks about the habit stacking in that
Oh
book.
yeah, like when I'm doing this, also do this.
Exactly. Yeah. And that just kind of it's like building on something because normally if you're starting something new or if you're trying to get discipline in the business or whatever you're doing, if you start small, right, and then start adding habits on top of that,
Yeah.
eventually it's going to compound and you're going to be where you need to be.
My favorite habit stack that I've ever done was stopping listening to music while driving and listening to educational content instead.
Yes. Yeah.
We're going to be driving, like, I mean, you're a contractor, I'm a marketer, so you don't drive as much as I do, but we both drive, right? So
Yeah.
whether you drive 30 minutes a day or 3 hours a day, we all have some drive time. And most of us will turn on that radio somehow, some way. You know what I mean? And don't
Hmm.
get me wrong, I love music as a musician as a kid. But if I can take half of my time that I would listen to music instead of listening to like my favorite songs, I could listen to something educational. I'm already driving, the radio's already going to be on. Play this instead of that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No, that's great. Well, that's how I get most of my audio training
Me
and
too.
my YouTube is driving because, I mean, on a slow day, I'm in the car an hour and a half. On a
Yeah.
busy day, it's 4 hours.
Yeah.
So
It's a lot.
if I can get at least a minimum of an hour a day on an audio book or a
Yeah.
YouTube, that's great. You
Yeah,
know,
for sure. Yeah, I love it. Um, I think that there is a lot of other habit stacks you can do. Um, One of the ones I remember from the book is like, keeping your floss beside your toothbrush instead of in the drawer like it normally is for
yeah.
most
So
people.
it's right there. You see it.
Instead of tucked away, it's like right there. It's like, well, I'm brushing my teeth. I might as well do this. But
Yeah.
you, in order for that to happen, you're habit stacking because you're going to do two things at once, which we all should be doing anyway. It's a healthy thing to do. But we also control the environment instead of having the floss like buried in a bag or in a shelf or drawer or something like that. It's just out. So now it's easier. And I don't go looking for it. I don't have to find it, so it won't give up as much. And then I'm also habit stacking. So it's like those are two main concepts in that book, and he uses that actual example of flossing in there. I think it's a really, really, really simple, elegant way to demo that concept.
Yeah. Also, like for my morning routine, we'll read. I read a book called Jesus Calling. It's like a little devotional book.
Okay.
So that stays out on my table,
Uh huh.
where I have my coffee, my journal, my other books are there, so that when I wake up, I'll spend 5 minutes, just kind of waking up, and then I just get right into it, and everything is right there, so it's easy to go. My gym clothes are already laid out on the bed, so
Yep.
it's all part of a routine.
Yeah, I know, I know. And he talks about that too. Like if you get dressed in gym clothes at the top of the day instead of getting dressed in your like regular daily clothes, you're more likely to go work out. So it's like
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
habit stacking.
I
Um,
struggle with that in the beginning. Like, if I should work out in the morning or if I should work out in the evening or the midday. And for me, it's just best to do it first thing in the morning. Even though if I'm not totally into it, I'll go through the motions, I'll do it, and then it's done. So if you have a hard day, which I'm sure you have a lot, and like right now, like the last thing I want to do is probably go to the gym at 4:30 in the afternoon because I'm
oh
tired.
yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. Well, I mean, kind of like the deep work block where I do it before noon. I think the more and I try to work out earlier. Sometimes it goes the other way, but um, a lot of like it depends on like kids and other things. But um, yeah, I believe that for the most time, like if you can do it earlier, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I was in the Air Force. I mean, our workout time was 4:30 in the morning. You know,
Yeah.
work out early. You'd show up to work at 7, but you'd start PT at like 4:30 in the morning and go for like an hour. Then you have breakfast, and you shower, then you go to work.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's an easy, repeatable way to do it. You just got to be willing to get up early to do
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said too, it's just a matter of doing it. Like for me, like I haven't used an alarm clock in over a decade. I'm up automatically at 4 a.m. every day.
Oh man, I've got to learn your trick on that. I can't function without an alarm clock. I have to set two.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah,
Yeah.
I set two with two different sounds. Because what'll happen with me is like I will sleep through one sound sometimes, like especially if it's the same ones. I have to rotate my alarm sounds every now and again because like my body, I won't even hear it. It's not like I'm hearing and ignoring it. I just don't hear it.
Yeah.
Um, Wakes my wife up and then she hits me, but like I don't hear the alarm. Sometimes will just part of my dreams, you know. So
Oh,
for me, I have to change my alarm sounds frequently, and I always have like an alarm and then one that fires 5 minutes later. I've actually hit snooze and turned alarms off without any cognitive recollection. Like I don't remember it at all, but I did it.
wow.
So
Yeah.
like I'm a two alarm kind of guy. I don't have no idea how you wake up naturally 4:30 in the morning, man. I can't do that.
Well, also I go to bed early too. Like by nine
That helps.
o'clock, I'm done. You know,
Yeah, that helps a lot for
yeah.
sure.
If I was going to bed at 11 o'clock, I don't think I would naturally wake up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, for sure. Well, dude, what? So, I mean, we talked a lot about like where you were and where you're going, and lots of fun stuff along the way. As we get close to like wrapping up here, do you have any like final tips or thoughts for anyone that's listening in that's kind of along that same path that maybe has a point in their life or business where they're stuck? Anything that kind of value adds that we can do before we wrap up?
I think for me, it all starts with our mindset. And as we were saying, it's like what we think is what we are. You
Yeah.
know, and I truly believe that. And do I have fear in my life, like fear of the business, fear of security? Of course I do, but I push through that. And just doing my daily routines every day and having a strong mindset. And like I said, for me, putting God first, my wife, my health, and then the business has really just been a game changer for me, and just doing things that make you uncomfortable. If you're comfortable doing things every day, you're not going to really grow. I try to do something uncomfortable every day. Something
That's
that
an
makes,
awesome tip.
yeah,
I love that.
it's important. I don't think that staying comfortable and in your comfort zone day in and day out, I don't think you're going to grow. Unless you're at a point where you're content. And most people are just content, I think, where they are, but their potential is so much more. Like right now, I look at me and I see myself falling short every day.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not happy where I'm at right now. Like I feel like I'm falling short every day, that I could be doing more. And that's what keeps me going, just
Yeah.
just striving for more, and it doesn't necessarily have to be material things, like just being closer with my wife, having a better relationship, because that's what life's about, really, is relationships, you know, being
Yeah.
close to people, trying to help people out, and that's what really kind of took me to another level, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't agree more. I think that money's important. Don't get me wrong. It definitely has its
Yeah.
place. But for me, money isn't the number one. It's relationships and impact and helping people. I think, for me, it's a big thing. Money is byproduct of helping people. Like painting a house is helping somebody. You know what I mean? I guess it's just a form of help. And
Right.
we all make money is on finding ways to help people. Even if we're an employee for somebody else, you're helping that business somehow.
Mhm.
So I think for me that's a really big thing. But the money side of things is never my first goal. I always try to think of like, what are the things that are gonna make me better, impact more people, help more people. That's typically where I kind of lean first.
I think when we lean in that direction first, and like when I took money out of being my first priority and prioritized like helping my guys, I have 9 guys, so I'm not only influencing their lives, but they have families,
Yeah.
and their lives, so it kind of multiplies, and money is kind of like a byproduct of how I treat everyone else and what I do, you know.
Yeah.
Um, that's when I just took like I devalue money now, you
That's a
know.
good way. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
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 Well, dude, I really enjoyed our chat, and I hope everyone listening in can kind of pull some things from your story. I love seeing where you were, and we've known each other for about a year now. I've
Yeah.
loved watching you grow and working with Lucas and Aiden and Andy Elliott and Joel and all those people, all personal friends of mine. I love all those guys. Really enjoyed watching you grow, man. I can't wait to see what you and your wife do next. And
Yeah.
I really, really appreciate your time joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to the PaintCon 2025, right?
Yep, same here, man. All
Yeah.
right, bud. Thanks so much, man. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Gotcha. Take care. Bye bye.
Hey, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. If you're looking for help growing your contracting business, I invite you to join my free community. In there, we go live with amazing trainings, share resources and downloads, plus you get free help from me and from peers. That link is down below to join, and we'll see you in the next video.